Welcome to UCF's Leadership Up Close and Personal. This is part of our Engineering Leadership and Innovation Institute, and it's a program where we bring leaders in to share their perspectives and their stories about leadership. We thank Duke Energy for their support of this program, and I thank Vinod Philip of Siemens to be here with us today to share your views. So appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Tim.
What I've heard you talk about and share is to be a leader, you first must lead yourself. What do you mean by that?
So when I look at leadership, at the end of the day, leadership is about leading others. And in order to be able to understand what it means to be leading somebody else, it's absolutely critical for a person to understand what it means to lead. And the best place to start, in my opinion, is with one's own life. Now, as a human, I perceive and I know that my life consists of different domains. And I define a domain like the domain of body or the domain of family. And the more I'm able to articulate what those domains are and find ways to balance those domains or integrate those domains, I lead myself through life in a way that maintains my dignity and fulfills my commitments and ambitions. As I go through that journey, what I feel is that I gain a greater understanding of what it means to be human. Mm-hmm. And since leadership is about leading humans, by being human and by understanding what it means to be human, it gives me a much stronger foundation to work from in leading others.
So my sense is you've spent a lot of time thinking about what it means to be human, what it means to be a leader. And so before you can actually go lead folks, do you think you really have to spend that time reflecting upon it?
Absolutely. I think the key to learning and experience is reflection. You cannot really gain an experience from just having been somewhere and having seen things occur. Mm-hmm. You have to understand why they occurred, what it means for you or for the others that the event had occurred. And in order to gain this insight, you have to sit and reflect on what just occurred. That's where experience comes from. So without experience, without reflection, there is no experience. There is just entertainment of some sort.
Right. So you've got some experience and you reflect. How much do you go search for new models for different people's perspectives on leadership? Is it all Vinod's model, or are you studying and learning from other areas?
For me, there is always a variety of models you can pick from, because there are different paradigms that exist in the world, and these paradigms consist of social, technological, economic situations that people live within. Mm-hmm. And to be a global leader, one needs to be able to understand that different paradigms exist and how people exist within those paradigms. So in order to understand how people exist within those paradigms, you have to have a framework to define existence in a certain paradigm. And given the fact that I have my own paradigm and my own mental model of the world, I per se cannot understand what another model looks like or feels like without having to learn from others who have been in those models.
Right.
So, in my opinion, there are many, many different models of reality and leadership. And I don't believe that one is necessarily better than the other. They're all different, and the way I assess the situation is what amalgamation of these different models, or what amalgamation of facets of these models make sense for me and are in line with my reality and my value system, and therefore my dignity.
Okay. So I can't take Vinod's model and just automatically take it and make it mine. I probably have to change a little bit, reflect it, make it my own model?
Absolutely. Because your view of reality is your view of reality. And your view of reality contains within it your life experiences, your own emotional and nervous state,
Just like now.
just like now.
Yeah.
So, therefore, what you can take from what I say are the triggers that trigger thoughts in your head, which are within your experience base, your life, and your reality, and construct a model. Leadership is not a plug and play kind of a system. It is not a tips and techniques and the 10 ways to become a quick leader. It doesn't work that way, in my opinion. Leadership is a journey, it's a very personal journey, and it has to mold itself around you and your life.
So will I ever reach the end of my journey? Will I ever reach where I am the leader that knows it all?
I would hope not, because then life becomes boring after that, right? So I think that it is a lifelong journey. And I'm quite certain that, and in fact, in the talk I gave before, one of the students came up to me and was talking about a comment I made regarding mastery, and I think, and he said, well, it's a mental block if you choose to be not Bill Gates, and you'll never get there. And my opinion is, even if you talk to Bill Gates, or even if you talk to Warren Buffett, I'm sure from their perspective and their self-assessment, they would identify areas that they would continue to improve and continue to learn. And that's what makes them so special, because they're always improving themselves, no matter how the external world assesses them or sees them. And so to me, I don't believe that this journey would ever come to a natural or definitive end. You can make it stop anytime you want it to stop, and you can keep it going as long as you want to keep it going. Personally, for me, it's a lifelong journey.
Right, and so if it's leadership starts with me and leading myself, I've always got to get better.
Always got to
I
get
can't
better.
stop.
Because that's, I think there is a very powerful statement that I've heard. It says, people don't listen to what you say, they watch what you do. So when you ask them to improve their state of affairs, if they don't see you authentically and genuinely working to improve your state of affairs, if you don't role model, then it is not authentic leadership. People might follow you for a momentary period, but it will not be sustainable.
So a couple of interesting words you've shared along the way: authentic, leadership, and dignity. So what does being authentic mean, and maybe how does that relate back to dignity?
Right. So every one of us, whether we know it or not, has a certain set of values. Some of us have articulated it, and we know it consciously. For many of us, it is subconscious. My view is that if you can consciously articulate what your values are and lead your life and the actions within your life to be such that they are in harmony with your value system or in congruence with your value system, then people will see you and sense you as being authentic. So if you have a leadership style that appears to be natural to you, natural to your style, if it appears to kind of fit within your body, and you seem to be working from within your body rather than working from a facade, then you have a possibility to be perceived as an authentic leader. So it starts from dignity, your actions following your values, that leading to a certain sense of centeredness within you, others who emotionally or sensorially couple to you sense the authenticity in that behavior, and that drives, in my opinion, authentic leadership.
So if someone sees Vinod Philip at the workplace, at home, and they said, who's Vinod? What values would they see? What are your values that you hold to?
The values that I really hold to are, while there are many different facets, I would bring it down to 3 different values that I think are probably the ones that I hold most dear to myself, right? The first is the value of being a family man, being a part of a family. And that family can be as narrow as my biological family, or as broad as my company, or broader as being a community. So I am part of a family. So what does it mean to be part of the family? There are sometimes you have to give and take and compromise and adjust and adapt. So the value of being a part of a family is one value, right? The second one is the value of diversity. And having had a life that started in India, is going on in the US, with a family consisting of Germans and Chinese and Indians and Americans, I understand and appreciate and embrace the power of diversity. So I try to live my life in my leadership style, in my workplace, as being somebody who champions and embraces the power of diversity. So diversity is the second value. And the third, to me, is related to a constant state of learning from the basis of being humble. If one is humble, which is connected to the word to be human, then one would know that there is always a lot that you don't know, right? So constantly staying in this state of learning and educating yourself and growing and putting yourself in situations where you're outside a comfort zone, observing, listening, accepting ideas and thoughts and help from other people, and using all of this to get better, that's what people would see me in my workplace. And I think that it makes me much more effective through this, because in order for me to fulfill these values, I have no choice but to ask help from others and put them in places where they can contribute, and that gives them a sense of dignity and a sense of fulfillment. And it's a bit of a snowballing effect that makes me enjoy doing what I do.
We can clearly see you enjoy it, and we thank you for sharing, right? It's about lifelong learning. It's about leading myself, getting better myself, dignity, authenticity, right? Non-stop learning. Thank you for sharing your story and your journey with us. And this is UCF's Leaders Up Close and Personal.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.